Few places allow wildlife to move freely so close to the edge of a crowded capital city, like Nairobi National Park. The reserve lies about 7 kilometers from the center of Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, and covers an area of more than 117 kilometers. It is the only national park in the world where an urban skyline rises directly behind a natural habitat. Within the dry savanna environment, predator species such as lions, leopards, and hyenas are forced into intense competition to secure prey. As apex predators, lions rely on both collective strength and individual power to dominate. They often target large antelope and zebras. Leopards usually hunt alone at night. After bringing down their prey, they drag it into trees to prevent it from being stolen. Hyenas, though smaller than lions and leopards, are resilient and highly enduring. They hunt in groups and are ready to contest or steal kills from lions or leopards whenever an opportunity appears. Each species must read tracks, judge timing, and calculate distance with great precision to avoid costly losses. In the survival contest of Nairobi National Park, only those that adapt fastest to nature are able to endure. Located in southwestern Kenya, covering about 10 kilometers and bordering Tanzania's Serengeti, Maasai Mara National Reserve forms part of the largest savanna ecosystem in East Africa, where seasonal rainfall dictates every rhythm of life. The Maasai Mara landscape unfolds in gently rolling grasslands that follow the contours of the land, stretching far beyond the horizon. African sunlight falls directly onto the ground, highlighting the fresh green of grass, the deep brown of soil, and the blue of the sky. The Mara River cuts across the savanna with dark brown waters. When rains arrive late, grass dries quickly and water sources shrink. Herds of wildebeest, zebras, and Thompson's gazelles begin the great migration across the Mara River. Beneath the Mara River, hundreds of Nile crocodiles, reaching lengths of up to 5 meters, lie in ambush. After long moments of hesitation, millions of wildebeest plunge into the water, sending powerful waves surging across the river. Waiting precisely for this moment, crocodiles burst upward, jaws opening wide, seizing unfortunate animals with cold accuracy. Most wildebeest manage to cross, but many individuals pay with their lives. Carcasses left behind by crocodiles drift downstream, becoming sources of nourishment for fish and scavenging birds. Yet the Great Migration never truly stops. It continues for the grasslands ahead, for the seasonal rains, and for a cycle that cannot be broken. The water surface is covered by white-grey trona. Extreme alkalinity can cause burns. Lake Magadi lies in southern Kenya, within the Great Rift Valley, in a hot and dry climate marked by intense evaporation. The lake water is highly alkaline because the surface is largely covered by trona, a form of sodium carbonate crystallized through prolonged evaporation. Salt-loving bacteria grow densely, staining the water into patches of white-gray and pale pink. At Lake Magadi, flamingos are the only animals able to survive. Their legs are protected by a thick layer of skin to prevent chemical burns. They wade slowly through shallow water, necks lowered, beaks sweeping steadily beneath the surface to filter algae and alkali-tolerant microorganisms. They do not need to hurry. Each movement repeats with precision, enough to conserve energy under prolonged heat. As sunlight lowers, flocks gather in calmer water, standing on one leg to reduce contact with the hot mud. It is the harshness of Lake Magadi that creates a comfortable living space for flamingos, as they face no competition for food from any other species. Mount Kenya places life into a rare and severe cycle of day and night. This ancient volcano rises to 5,199 min, making it the second highest mountain in Africa. Today, Mount Kenya is no longer active, exposing eroded craters with a hard, rocky core. Temperatures on Mount Kenya often fall below 0 degrees Celsius, causing rocks and grasslands to be coated with a thin layer of ice. However, when the sun rises above the summit, radiation intensifies due to the mountain's proximity to the equator, allowing the temperature difference between day and night to reach several tens of degrees. The terrain forms clearly defined ecological zones, ranging from high mountain forests to alpine grasslands and glaciers. In the upper belts, endemic plants such as giant Senecio and Lobelia adapt by closing their leaf clusters at night to retain heat, then opening during the day to absorb sunlight. Small animals operate within very short time windows, sheltering in rock crevices when temperatures drop rapidly. Insects maintain activity at low temperatures through dark pigments on their bodies, which allow them to absorb heat more effectively. Glaciers on Mount Kenya have lost more than 90% of their surface area compared to the early 20th century, altering seasonal water sources for surrounding basins. As a result, the ecosystem is forced to adjust within an increasingly restricted space. At Amboseli National Park, visitors enter a space where all life is drawn toward water, and every gaze instinctively searches for the snow-covered peak of Mount Kilimanjaro in the distance. The reserve lies in southern Kenya, near the border with Tanzania, and covers an area of about 392 kilometers. Low grasslands spread across a base of dusty soil and ancient volcanic ash, their surfaces cracking during the dry season, then softening when rare rains arrive. Freshwater swamps emerge from underground flows, fed by meltwater from Mount Kilimanjaro, forming unexpected green bands within the dry savanna. Giraffes, buffalo, and antelope gather around areas where water remains abundant. When water levels drop, they migrate toward other sources. Water birds and migratory birds appear at the swamps for short periods to breed. Amboseli is also known for one of the largest and most stable populations of African elephants in East Africa. Their massive bodies stand apart against the flat savanna and the wide open sky. Notably, Some individuals carry exceptionally large tusks, weighing up to nearly 50 kili, almost touching the ground. This is the result of rare genetics and decades of survival through periods of poaching, giving each individual exceptional biological value. Tusks are not only tools for digging water, stripping bark, or breaking branches. For Amboseli elephants, they are marks of time. Each worn edge and each crack records a long passage through drought, migration, and competition. In recent years, however, many large tusked elephants have died due to old age and disease. The few remaining individuals in Amboseli National Park are regarded as rare biological treasures of nature and are protected with extreme care. Have you ever seen a volcano with a double crater, creating a unique island within an island structure like Mount Suswa? Located in the Great Rift Valley, about 50 km west of Nairobi, Mount Suswa is an extinct shield volcano, distinguished by its rare double crater system. The outer rim of the crater was formed by ancient basalt lava flows. Meanwhile, the inner rim collapsed after major eruptive phases, leaving behind a wide and enclosed caldera. The interior terrain is hollowed out by a network of lava caves stretching for several kilometers, forming lava tubes that run horizontally beneath the surface. Volcanic ash and scoria layers cover older formations, recording multiple cycles of activity. Mount Suswa is also a sanctuary for African baboons. As light fades, thousands of baboons gather within the lava cave system inside the crater. They sit in large clusters, calling and growling, as if holding a daily gathering with internal order. According to researchers, the volcanic caves attract baboons because they retain stable warmth and provide shelter from predators. For the Maasai people, Mount Suswa is a sacred space associated with rites of passage, blessings, and connection with ancestors. These rituals usually take place discreetly, away from the observation of outsiders. The layering of nocturnal animal life and human ritual makes Mount Suswa a rare place where animals and people coexist, without intruding upon one another. Tsavo National Park does not impress through a single moment, but overwhelms through vast and continuous space. Located in southeastern Kenya, Tsavo National Park is divided into Tsavo East and Tsavo West. It remains one of the rare continuous wilderness areas left in East Africa. Iron oxide-rich red soil covers the savanna and low bushland. African elephants living here favor bathing in pools of red iron-rich mud to protect themselves from sun and insects, giving their bodies a distinctive red earth color found nowhere else. The Galana River flows slowly through low-lying terrain, forming a rare survival corridor amid prolonged dry stretches. Ancient lava hardened into black rock flows, fracturing the terrain and trapping groundwater in unpredictable locations. In Tsavo, animals do not live in dense concentrations. They spread out according to water and shade, relying on memory of the landscape rather than direct competition. African lions in Tsavo National Park carry a reputation unlike elsewhere in Kenya. They have tall bodies with sparse manes, or almost none at all. Their coat color blends with red soil and dry brush, creating near-perfect camouflage against prey. Because of the vast terrain in Tsavo, lions must travel long distances and hunt under prolonged scarcity. This pressure shapes individuals that are highly alert and daring. Today, Tsavo lions continue to instill fear in other animals and in humans as well. Whenever evening shadows stretch across the savanna, the haunting story of that year returns as a sharp warning. Resting in silence just beyond the edge of Kenya's coastal forest, Gedi Ruins is a medieval Islamic city that vanished before history could fully record its story. Gedi flourished from the 12th century to the 17th century and stood as one of the important centers of Swahili culture along the East African coast. The urban structure of Gedi was carefully organized, with enclosing walls dividing residential quarters, merchant districts, and religious spaces. The Grand Mosque, palace, and coral stone houses reflect the advanced building skills of Swahili society. A system of wells and latrines reveals strong attention to urban life and communal sanitation. The functions of these structures show that Gedi was once a carefully planned city, rather than a random settlement. Excavations indicate that the city once housed thousands of residents who participated in an Indian Ocean trade network extending to the Middle East, India, and China. Coins, ceramics, and imported jewelry found here demonstrate that Gedi was far from isolated. Around the 17th century, the city was abruptly abandoned, most likely due to commercial decline, conflict, and the depletion of water sources. Standing among the Gedi ruins, one senses that some civilizations disappear not because of weakness, but because the flow of history suddenly changes direction. Leaving the Gedi ruins behind, the journey turns away from the Indian Ocean and stretches westward, where the land gradually opens out to meet a vast inland sea. Lake Victoria lies between Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, with an area of about 6,800 kilometers. It is the largest freshwater lake in Africa and one of the largest lakes in the world, playing a central ecological and transport role for the interior of East Africa. As a meeting point of several major rivers, including the White Nile, Lake Victoria functions as one of the region's vital hydrological regulators. At last, the road leads to Lake Victoria, where the water surface spreads so widely that the horizon seems to fade. Small waves follow one another as they break against the shore. Nile perch, emperor fish, and many native species once formed one of the largest inland fisheries on the continent. Beyond this, Lake Victoria also serves as a transport route for food supplies and a connector for shoreline communities. Small boat landings and lively fish markets rise along each branching waterway. Located in northern Kenya, with an area of about 6,400 kilometers, Lake Turkana is regarded as the largest alkaline lake in the world. The lake water is highly alkaline due to mineral accumulation from surrounding rivers and volcanic activity. The water surface often shifts in color from pale blue to murky green, reflecting dense concentrations of minerals and algae. Strong winds blow almost year-round, creating large waves rarely seen on inland lakes, making travel by boat consistently risky. The shoreline is lined with jagged volcanic rock and hot sand, and air temperatures frequently exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Fossil discoveries around the lake also show that Turkana is one of the early cradles of humankind. People living along the lake rely on fishing and boat travel. Fishermen head onto the water at dawn, using narrow, low wooden boats that can maneuver easily through strong wind and waves. Fish are caught seasonally, then dried directly on the shore to preserve them in the hot climate. Lake Turkana is a place where water, wind, and minerals together impose the rules, forcing all life to comply. Central Island is not meant for those who avoid risk. It is a sanctuary of the Nile crocodile, one of the most dangerous predators in Africa. Located in the middle of Lake Turkana, Central Island was formed by relatively young volcanic activity, with eruptive craters and lava lakes that have long since cooled. With an area of only a few km, its isolation turns Central Island into an extreme biological space, where human presence is almost non-existent. The ecosystem here is dominated almost entirely by Nile crocodiles. They concentrate around volcanic crater lakes filled with warm water because stable temperatures allow eggs to hatch faster and increase survival rates. Female crocodiles dig nests in hot sand, guarding them for many weeks. Any unfamiliar movement can provoke immediate aggression. Adult male crocodiles lie motionless for hours under the harsh heat, exposing only their eyes and nostrils. When stepping onto Central Island, absolute respect and constant vigilance toward crocodiles are essential. Carefully observe low rock outcrops and warm mud flats, where crocodiles often remain still while basking. You should move slowly, avoid separating from the group, maintain safe distance at all times, and never stand between a crocodile and the water. Never approach slide paths leading into the lake, as these are their familiar escape routes. Here, humans are only visitors within the domain of the ultimate predator. You enter Hell's Gate and realize that the world suddenly feels stranger and more majestic than you ever imagined. Hell's Gate National Park lies within the Great Rift Valley and is known for allowing visitors to move among wildlife without fences or specialized vehicles. Here, you can cycle along dusty roads where herds of giraffes and antelope stand still, watching from both sides of the path. Hell's Gate also features narrow gorges, towering cliffs, and rock pillars shaped smooth by millions of years of wind erosion. Winding rock corridors create a sense of constant motion, as light shifts with the hours, striking red stone and volcanic ash directly. This spatial composition directly inspired the production design team of The Lion King, especially scenes of valleys, narrow passages, and elevated viewpoints. Hell's Gate offers rare adventure experiences within open landscapes without artificial barriers for protection in Kenya. Dragon's teeth stand upright in the valley like stone spears, sharp, hard, and with no intention of yielding to anything. This rock formation lies within the Hell's Gate area, formed from basalt lava that cooled rapidly, then was shaped over a long period by wind, rain, and tectonic movement. Harder rock remained, while weaker sections were stripped away, revealing vertical stone pillars with sharp edges and clean, fractured faces. The rock carries a dark grey tone, with a rough surface that clearly reveals the frozen textures of once fast-flowing lava. The gaps between the pillars are narrow, allowing light to pass through in thin slices, making the forms feel even more severe. Standing close, one can sense the tension of the terrain, as if the ground still remembers the heat that once forced it upward. In local memory, Dragon's Teeth is tied to stories of mythical dragons guarding the valley, leaving behind traces in the form of petrified teeth. Early European expeditions recorded the rock formation as a hazardous landmark, where the terrain forced travelers to detour or come to a halt. Lake Chala lies along the border between Kenya and Tanzania, formed within an ancient volcanic crater near the eastern slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro. Steep crater walls rise high, enclosing the lake basin and holding wind above the rim. The water carries a deep green hue, shifting with light and mineral content. In the morning, the lake surface takes on a dark turquoise tone, cold and deep, reflecting the sheer crater walls surrounding it. As the sun climbs higher, the water gradually turns greener, catching the shimmer of suspended minerals within the lake. By afternoon, mountain shadows fall across the surface, darkening the water to an almost blue-black shade. The stillness stretches so completely that even the smallest sounds feel amplified. Lake Shala holds a special place in local spiritual life. Stories are often told of spirits dwelling beneath the deep and seemingly bottomless water. Standing before Lake Chala, one is not drawn in by scenery, but held in place by depth, where nature chooses silence over display. At Chulu Hills, nature does not display power openly. It places stone beneath grass, hides fire beneath the ground, and lets life move across a surface that has cooled after heat. The hills lie between Tsavo and Amboseli, formed by the youngest volcanic eruptions in Kenya, where lava once flowed close to the surface. Elevation remains moderate, yet the geological structure is still fresh, making Chulu feel like land that has not fully cooled. Solidified lava forms winding bands of black rock beneath soft green grass, creating a clear contrast between hardness and softness. Hollow lava tubes run underground for dozens of kilometers, storing rainwater and guiding invisible flows. Above ground, grass grows quickly thanks to moisture retained within the rock, turning hillsides into green savanna amid surrounding dry land. Low clouds often become caught along ridgelines, where light bends and deepens the green beyond its true shade. Winds carry the scent of young grass and volcanic soil across the open space. In local history, Chulu Hills was not a place for permanent settlement. Rugged lava terrain made road building and village construction difficult, so the area was used seasonally by the Maasai. They guided their herds along grasslands, growing over old volcanic rock, drawing on water stored within lava fissures after rain. Through this pattern, Chulu became a quiet buffer zone, sustaining livestock and wildlife without constant human presence. El Molo village lies on small rocky islands in the middle of Lake Turkana, where hot saline water stretches all the way to the horizon. The village is small, made up of only a few dozen homes, assembled from dry branches, reeds, and whatever materials can be gathered around the lake. The smell of salty water and sun-dried fish travels with the wind throughout the village, making visitors feel as if they have arrived at a coastal fishing settlement. At dawn, the men of the village push wooden boats into the water, rowing slowly outward, eyes fixed on the lake surface to avoid crocodiles. There is no fixed departure time. When the wind is calm, they go. When it rises, they stay. They bring their catch back to shore, gutting fish directly on the rocks and laying them out in rows to dry. Women sit near their homes, mending nets, drying fish, and watching over children. Crocodile hunting takes place only when absolutely necessary, because everyone understands the danger of such encounters. Today, the village remains small in scale, just sufficient for people who have grown accustomed to living among stone, sun, and waters that always carry hidden risk. Kenya closes with a stark lesson about life. On a land where nature decides everything, the strongest are not the most aggressive, but those who understand the rules and adapt at the right moment.